Hi, I hope everyone is able to listen to me right now. So, we'll wait for 2 more minutes to see if anyone wants to join, and then we'll start at sharp 11:31 to. And if anyone has joined, please say hi in the comments so that we know who all have joined. Okay, so I guess we'll start now. Hello, everyone. A very good morning to all of you, and thank you all for joining this session. I'm very thankful to Alumni Connect GC Bhavnagar for giving me this wonderful opportunity to share some of my experiences with all the young minds who are listening to me right now. Today, I would like to talk to you about IIST, ISRO, my journey to IIST, and a bit about history of ISRO and what ISRO does. So, I would like to introduce myself first. I'm Yuvraj Chudasama, and I'm currently working in Space Application Center, Ahmedabad, which is a part of Indian Space Research Organization, and it's responsible for payload development and space applications of our satellites. In terms of education qualification, I have completed BTech in avionics from Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology, which is an autonomous body under the Department of Space, Government of India, and it gives the young students of our country the opportunity to explore the field of space science and eventually be a part of Indian space program. Growing up, the idea of working in ISRO was not written in stone for me. I did not know much about ISRO and its various projects back when I was a kid. However, when I was in ninth standard, I had a wonderful opportunity to take part in a competition called National Science Seminar, which is sponsored by ISRO and various other well-known research institutes of India. In that competition, you have to give a speech for about 5 minutes, and then the judges will ask you questions based on a speech you have given. When I took part in that competition in 2009, the topic was Chandrayaan Promises and Concerns. Chandrayaan 1 was just launched at that time, and ISRO was all over the news. I prepared well for my speech on the given topic, and while I was doing that, I got to know a lot about ISRO, its ongoing projects, and how much reputed space agency it had already become worldwide. Chandrayaan 1 had payloads from space agencies all over the world, such as NASA, European Space Agency, JPL, etc. I went up to state level in that competition and faced ISRO scientists as judges there. Interacting with those brilliant minds was a great experience for me. I did not win the competition, but ISRO had definitely made a permanent mark in my mind, and my curious mind started following ISRO's coming missions. But 10th board and 11th, 12th came next, and all the curiosity was shut somewhere by the rigorous studies for the board exams, then JEE mains, advanced, and some other entrance exams. I was studying for 15, 16 hours a day for 2 whole years. And at that time, I did not even know where I would end up after all these preparations and which engineering discipline I was going to opt for. At that time, it was declared that there would be a common engineering entrance examination for all students of India. JEE Mains was for NITs and other colleges, and JEE Advanced was for IITs. Actually, that was the time when I got to know about the existence of IITs and how wonderful it is to be an IITian. Well, I could not become one though. I did fill forms for a lot of colleges back then, and one of them was Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology. Honestly, I had no idea that a college like that existed in India before I filled up the form for admissions in it. Regarding discipline, I was always inclined to computer sciences. Still, I checked the curriculums of all the disciplines and made sure that computer science is the one I'm going to opt for. Since I was interested in computer sciences, I really wanted to get into NIT Surathkal, but life had other ideas for me. Coming back to IIST, it had only 160 seats, and removing the 50% reserved seats for the categories, it came down to 80 seats for me. IIST had three different BTech programs, namely aerospace, avionics, and physical scientist. Since I wanted to pursue computer sciences, it was not there, I thought I would go for avionics, which is a mixture of electronics and computer sciences. However, for avionics branch, there were only 30 unreserved seats to compete for all the interested students from all over India. And I was very skeptical about me getting into those 30. Well, the hard work I had done for the last 2 years paid off, and I got my admission in the BTech in Avionics program of IIST. Just after submitting my documents and confirming my admission, I found out that I had also got into NIT Surathkal Computer Sciences. But that ship was sailed and I joined IIST. Let me give you a tour of IIST now. Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology, IIST, is a deemed to be university under Section 3 of UGC Act 1956. It is located at a place called Valiamala, which is around 20 kilometers from Trivandrum, Kerala. The idea of such an institute was mooted keeping in mind the need of high quality manpower for the Indian Space Research Organization, one of the world's leading scientific research organizations engaged in space research and space applications. The institute is first of its kind in the country to offer high quality education at the undergraduate, graduate, doctoral, and postdoctoral levels on areas with special focus to space sciences, space technology, and space applications. The institute had the enviable reputation among all educational institutes since it had Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, the renowned technocrat and the former president of India, as its very first chancellor. He was the chancellor of IIST when I joined the college, and I had the good fortune to listen to him quite a few times in the college. I was supposed to receive my BTech degree from his hands, and that would have been the greatest moment of my life. But unfortunately, he passed away in 2015, and my dream did not become a reality. Anyway, coming back to IIST, in 2017, it was ranked 28th among all engineering institutes, 35th among all universities, and 56th overall among all institutions by MHRD in its second National Institutional Ranking Framework. Regarding the academic programs, the institute currently offers two BTech courses in aerospace engineering and avionics, and a dual degree, which is a BTech plus MTech or MS program with BTech in engineering physics and then masters in one of the programs from astronomy and astrophysics, earth system science, solid states physics, and optical engineering. Admissions to these branches are merit based, and intake is based on joint entrance examination JEE Advanced conducted by IITs. The major feature of the undergraduate program is the liberal offer of assistantship to meritorious students, rendering the education completely free, subject to the students securing a stipulated minimum academic requirement. As performance-based financial assistance is provided to BTech students of IIST, ISRO will have the first right to absorb them. subject to the vacancies notified by ISRO in that particular discipline and year of IIST graduates. Let me explain this part a bit more. In IIST, if you secure a GPA of 7.5 or more for a particular semester, you won't have to pay any kind of fees for that particular semester. There won't be any tuition fees, hostel fees, or mess fees. So it's totally free education if you can score more than 7.5 in each semester. Addition to this fee waiver, every semester there will be a book grant of 3,000 rupees, which you can use to purchase academic books and general reading books. Regarding absorption in ISRO, the student of IIST has to have an overall CGPA of 7.5 or more to be eligible for absorption in ISRO. Every year, ISRO will announce vacancies for each branches of IIST. The absorption in ISRO will be completely merit based once you are eligible, securing a CGPA of 7.5. And ISRO has the first right to absorb you if you are scoring more than 7.5 and you are eligible. And you will have to sign a bond of 3 years worth 10 lakh when you join, because ISRO has paid for your education. So you will have to work for ISRO for at least 3 years. Otherwise, you can just pay the 10 lakh bond and leave. The good thing about this is if you have a very good CGPA in IIST, you can also choose your center of ISRO. This choice of center is not given to the employees who join ISRO through the normal recruiting procedure through ICRB, ISRO Centralized Recruitment Board. The campus of IIST, if I talk about it, has an area about 100 acres, and it is located in one of the most scenic places in Kerala, very near the majestic mountain range of Western Ghats. The campus is fully residential for students. The campus has a 6-storied library building at the hub of its campus. It has a well-chosen collection of books, journals, and e-resources from all major subject areas. In addition to the regular library service, book bank service is being provided to ensure essential study materials to all the undergraduate students. Therefore, even the textbooks for your courses are free. The course of avionics, if I talk about, it's designed to have an overall knowledge of electronics, electrical, and a bit of computer sciences. The institute is also well equipped with laboratories for all the disciplines. In avionics, we have labs for computer networks, digital signal processing, VLSI design, virtual reality, power electronics, control systems, and much more. These laboratories are extensively utilized to cement the theoretical knowledge that you gained in the lectures by practical experiments. The faculties and the institution are the ones with great expertise in the particular fields. And most importantly, they encourage you to go beyond the theoretical education, take up projects of your own, and do something new and innovative. They are always there to help you whenever you need them. The grading system of the college also gives equal importance to theoretical and practical knowledge both. I utilize these opportunities and well-maintained lab infrastructure of IIST to do a lot of projects in various subjects. In the early semester, I made a mobile gesture-controlled car using Arduino microprocessor and Bluetooth module. Designed a line follower with the same Arduino microprocessor and IR sensors. In VLSI design, I developed an 8-bit floating point ALU in the Altera FPGA kit. I also implemented LMS algorithm for adaptive noise cancellation and developed a tank fight game in my virtual reality project. In the later part, I focused on wireless mesh networks. Our team designed an SDN, that means software design networking based infrastructure, to assist the fishermen in the sea called mobile infrastructure for coastal region offshore communications and networks called Micronet. I did a summer internship in Space Application Center, Ahmedabad, in which I did the software simulation of ultra-low phase noise DSP oscillators, which is used to generate accurate sine waves. My final year project was titled Towards Controller Application Migration in Software-Defined Wireless Mesh Networks, in which we designed a novel scheme of controller application migration to migrate controller applications in software-defined networks. With the help of a full-fledged computer networks lab in IIST, we were also able to implement our scheme in a real-world wireless mesh network testbed. After all these projects and quizzes and semester examinations and comprehensive viva, I was able to score a CGPA of 8.8, and was eligible for absorption in ISRO. I had all the ISRO centers to choose from, and I chose Space Application Centers, Ahmedabad. Partly because it is closer to my hometown, and partly because I had already worked there in my summer internship, and I knew what all works were going on inside. So this is how my journey to ISRO reached its destination. And from August 2017, I'm working in Space Applications Center in the Signal and Image Processing Group. So let's move on to ISRO now. But before I do that, I think a lot of you who are listening to me right now will be writing GATE and might be going for post-graduation. So IIST also offers several highly rated post-graduation programs in thermal and propulsion, aerodynamics and flight mechanics, structure and design, RF and microwave engineering, digital signal processing, VLSI and microsystems, control systems, power electronics, machine learning and computing, etc. The admission in these programs are based on your GATE score, followed by a personal interview by IIST faculty. I know some of the people who did their MTech and PhD in IIST, and if any of you need any kind of help or have any further questions regarding any of that, you can definitely ping me and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I guess somebody asked me, do mechanical engineering graduates can apply? Yes, they can apply. And there are courses like thermal and propulsion, aerodynamics and flight mechanics, structure and design for that. Actually, when you make a satellite, you need all these things. So IIST does have courses on all these subjects, and yes, you can apply. If you need more information, do ping me. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So ISRO. Let me talk first about the history a bit. India decided to go to space when Indian National Committee for Space Research, INCOSPAR, was set up by the Government of India in 1962. With the visionary Dr. Vikram Sarabhai at its helm, INCOSPAR set up the Thumba Equatorial Rocket Launching Station, TERLS, in Trivandrum for upper atmospheric research. INCOSPAR grew and became Indian Space Research Organization in 1969. The vision of ISRO is to harness space technology for national development while pursuing space science, research, and planetary exploration. If we look at some of ISRO's famous missions till date, it started with India's first satellite, Aryabhatta, which was launched by Soviet Union in 1975. In 1980, Rohini became the first satellite to be placed in orbit by an Indian-made launch vehicle, SLV-3, Satellite Launch Vehicle 3. And from there, ISRO subsequently developed two other rockets, the Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, PSLV, for putting satellites into polar orbits, which went on to become a favored carrier for satellites of various countries due to its reliability and cost efficiency, promoting unprecedented international collaboration. And Geosynchronous Satellite Launch Vehicle, GSLV, for putting satellites into geostationary orbits, which was developed keeping in mind the heavier and more demanding communication satellites. Right now, ISRO maintains one of the largest fleet of communication satellites and remote sensing satellites that cater to the ever-growing demand of fast and reliable communication and Earth observation, respectively. In 2008, ISRO sent lunar orbiter Chandrayaan-1, which discovered lunar water in the form of ice. And in 2013, the Mars Orbiter mission, which entered Mars orbit on 24th September 2014, making India the first nation to succeed on its maiden attempt to Mars, as well as the first space agency in Asia to reach Mars orbit. On 15th February 2017, ISRO launched 104 satellites in a single rocket, PSLV C-37, which was a world record, and recently in September 2019, the second lunar mission Chandrayaan-2 was launched to study lunar geology and the distribution of lunar water. It was a lander plus orbiter mission. Unfortunately, the lander or rover did not land properly, but the orbiter is still revolving around Moon, acquiring very useful data that will help us solve many mysteries regarding our Moon. ISRO's future missions include the famous Gaganyaan, the human spaceflight mission of India, building a space station, probes to Venus and Jupiter, and a solar spacecraft mission called Aditya L1. We do hear a lot about missions I mentioned here, like Chandrayaan, Gaganyaan, and Mars Orbiter mission. But ISRO is much more than those missions. As I mentioned earlier, the vision of ISRO is to harness space technology for national development while pursuing space science research and planetary explorations. Here, harnessing space technology for national development comes first, and ISRO is doing that from the start. But those kind of missions don't stay in the news and in our memory for a longer period. We all watch television, right? We watch a lot of TV shows, news, movies, and live sports matches on TV via the direct to home or DTH service. This DTH service is based on the communication satellites of ISRO, which provides fixed satellite services for civilian use. This kind of communication satellites are also used for rural area connectivity, tele-education, telemedicine, etc. There are also navigation satellites of ISRO aboard Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System (IRNSS). This IRNSS system is expected to provide a position accuracy better than 20 meter over India and a region extending about 1,500 kilometers around India. IRNSS system is now called NAVIC, Navigation Using Indian Constellation, which you might have heard of. Qualcomm has announced chipsets with ISRO's Navi Global Positioning System for Android smartphones, and smartphones running on new Qualcomm chipsets will be using Navic within the Indian region in neighboring countries. ISRO also plays a significant role in weather prediction as it provides satellite data on to Indian Meteorological Department IMD and processes weather data for public consumption. Besides this, ISRO also helps states and disaster management bodies such as NDMA gear up to deal with any natural calamity. ISRO first collect data from different meteorological satellites like INSAT 3D, INSAT 3DR, and SCATSAT, and then there will be some corrections made in the data which usually gets corrupted and distorted due to atmospheric disturbance and other factors. After the corrections, the data is sent to IMD, which makes accurate predictions on weather based on this data. Recently, there has been cyclones and a lot of things that were predicted properly. That was because ISRO provided the useful data to process and predict these things. There is another kind of satellites called Earth observation satellites or remote sensing satellites. Remote sensing is the acquisition of information about an object or phenomenon without making physical contact with the object, especially the Earth. Remote sensing is used in numerous fields, including geography, land surveying, and most Earth science applications. It also has military, intelligence, commercial, economic, and other applications. In a crude way, remote sensing is actually taking images of Earth using satellite or aircraft based sensors. These remote sensing satellites are basically divided in two categories: optical remote sensing satellites and microwave remote sensing satellites. The optical remote sensing satellites makes use of visible, near-infrared and short-wave infrared frequencies to form images of Earth's surface by detecting the solar radiation reflected from targets on the ground. This is similar to taking a photograph using your mobile phone or camera, but the intricacies involved in doing that with a satellite is much more complex. The Cartosat satellites are a series of Indian optical remote sensing satellites which are used for Earth resource management, defense services, and monitoring. They can capture images of Earth with a resolution of up to 25 centimeters. That was the resolution of Cartosat 3 launched in 2019. There is one disadvantage though of these satellites. Since they operate in optical range, it cannot penetrate clouds and they cannot take images at night. These issues can be resolved by microwave remote sensing satellites because they operate in microwave frequencies which can penetrate crowds and provide all-weather surveillance. I am right now working in this domain of microwave remote sensing. Radar Imaging Satellites, RISAT, is a series of Indian microwave remote sensing satellites. The satellites have sensors named synthetic aperture radars. The group in which I work, called Signal and Image Processing Group, deals with the processing of the data that comes from synthetic aperture radars, or SARs, which are microwave remote sensing sensors. Processing usually involves making an image out of the satellite data. Actually, if I go on describing the sensors, it will take a full day, and you should also learn about some basics of radar and signals and systems thoroughly before you move on to synthetic aperture radars. So I'll save you from the trouble. Data processing of this SAR data requires thorough understanding of all its concepts. And then you require good programming skills because ultimately you are not going to process this data by your hand. You're going to use high performing computers with GPUs to process this data. C, C++, Python, and Java are widely used programming languages in data processing. And here you need to write very efficient codes to make the processing as fast as you can. Because in a situation of disaster, you image a certain area with your satellite which is affected, and if you are going to take a lot of time to process the data, the disaster is going to make a lot of damage by then, and by the time you have the image, maybe the situation is totally changed. So you have to use parallel processing and GPUs to process the data as fast as you can. Once you have, suppose, an image of agricultural area and you want to know which kind of agricultural crop is spread over how much area, you are not going to open that image and measure it on your own. You need to develop tools with the use of machine learning and deep learning techniques that can identify the different crops separately and calculate the yield and the area that is covered by each crop. This is just a simple application. There are a lot of other applications which needs this kind of techniques. So when you move to applications of remote sensing satellites, machine learning, big data analysis, artificial intelligence all come into picture. It is actually a very wide field and a lot of research is going on in these areas. And I work on some of these things day to day. Chandrayaan 2 was launched last year, as I told, and it also had a SAR payload, which is taking images of the moon right now. And I had the good fortune to work on some analysis of this payload of Chandrayaan 2. So from giving a speech on Chandrayaan 1 in 2009 in a competition to actually working a bit on Chandrayaan 2 project in 2019, this is my journey from a ninth grader to ISRO via IIST. Thank you very much for listening to me right now. And you can ask me any questions you want to. I can see a question asked by Sujit that computer engineering has any scope in aerospace engineering for ISRO. So yes, computer engineers do have a lot of scope for aerospace engineering because aerospace is not just about designing the rockets, like it's also about designing the controller of that rocket, which is called onboard computers. So these onboard computers require all kind of computer science engineering, and you will have to because you are not going to edit, you're not going to send commands to your rocket or rocket. So whenever a rocket is launched, the onboard computer does everything. There is only one thing that you can do. You can destroy that rocket if it's not going in the direction that you want. So computer science engineers are required to program the rocket in the onboard computers. So any other questions? And the onboard computers are also required in satellites because whenever you send a command to the satellite, it should act based on your command, and you need to program everything because you can't just go and change it once you send a satellite. Once the satellite is in orbit, all the thing you can do is send the satellite some commands, nothing else. You can't change the programming that you have made in the satellite or nothing else. So how does a day at work look at SAC ISRO Ahmedabad? So in SAC ISRO, it's like 9 to 5:30 job. Depends. The time changes. Sometimes 9:30 to 6 or something like that. But you don't come out at 5:30 or 6. You will be staying there for like 7, 8 o'clock or something like that, because there's a lot of work going on there right now. So, and ISRO doesn't allow mobile phones or anything inside the campus. So you have to keep everything outside. So you go in there, you go to the computer, you sit, and you just program. Mostly it's about programming in my field. So it's like, you know, you'll have to understand the concepts first, then you get the data, you do analysis of the data, how the data is, how you can process the data, and then you start writing programs. So it's mostly programming every day. and it's fun actually because you have to deal with a lot of new problems, and it's not like a stagnant job in which you have to deal with like similar things every day. Every day is a challenge. Every satellite is a new challenge in ISRO. So you get to learn a lot. I mean, really, really a lot. And the technologies are developing so fast. And there are missions with NASA, European Space Agency, and some things like that. So you really get to learn a lot in ISRO. So what do we do for it? Like what we require to learn. So for onboard computers, it's basically about you need to learn microprocessor and microcontrollers thoroughly, the computer architecture that you might have studied in computer science, of course, efficient programming. Then FPGAs are used right now for the satellites because they are really fast. So you need to learn about FPGAs also. You need to learn about those Verilog and VHDL programming languages which are used to program FPGAs. And yeah, a lot of things like signals and systems also, because and some formats of data and all those things. Now, is it possible for students to visit SAC? If yes, how can they arrange a visit? So yes, it is possible for students to visit SAC. So for that, you have to send ISRO a mail that our college wants to visit ISRO and see some of the laboratories or something like that. There are a lot of colleges of Ahmedabad, and there are a lot of schools who come to ISRO in SAC, and they visit the clean rooms and all the facilities that we have. And ISRO scientists are also really, look forward to uh, describe students what work are going on there and show all the facilities that we work on. How much time you spend coding at your job? So it actually depends. Once I get the understanding of the subject or the work that I'm doing right now, it takes some of the time, like maybe 2 or 3 days. I read everything that that is going on in that area and the work I'm going to do. And after that, it's all coding. I mean, it doesn't, uh, it will not be done in a short time because it's satellite data, and the satellite data is actually very different from all the programmed and well maintained data we usually have. So you need to test your codes on a lot of satellite data before you actually made the code operational. So it's a lot of coding involved. Python, C, C++, Java, these are the languages you use, and you need to be very thorough in those languages. Actually, I'm also learning some of these. Like I don't know Java, so I'm learning Java a bit. And every day you'll have to learn something new, something different in programming also. So I mentioned about doing an internship at SAC. How can students get an internship at SAC? This is actually very easy and you can actually do it. If you go to sac.gov.in website, there will be a careers option, and there you can apply for internship. You can apply for a summer internship and for an winter internship. They are both available, and you just have to mail them, and with your like whatever you are doing right now, what all subjects you have taken, and you also need some kind of references from your professors. So you compile all that and you mail it to ISRO, and there will be an interview. There might be an interview, but they'll take your application into consideration, and they'll give you an internship if they can. So what about work of mechanical engineer at SAC Ahmedabad? So as I told earlier, SAC Ahmedabad designs satellites and payloads. So once you design a payload, it's going to work in very harsh conditions in the orbit. There'll be temperatures as low as like what -20 degrees, -30 degrees, something like that, and as high as 100 or 120 degrees. So mechanical engineer has to design the shell of the satellite. It should not, it should withstand all those temperatures. And whenever you send a satellite through a rocket, there will be a lot of vibrations involved. So there are vibration testings and all those things. So your satellite base should be able to withstand all that load and all those things. So in that, mechanical engineers come into picture. There is a totally different, a group which deals with all this. Not a group, a big area that deals with satellite thermals and all those things. I don't know much about it. I just know some of the things that they work on. And also, ISRO manufactures all the things on their own, like as much as we can. So there will be So you'll have to design things like whatever you learned on workshop, like there'll be waveguides used in satellite. So you need to design those waveguides, thermal packages, and a lot of things for the satellite. So any courses available for masters in it. Uh, there's not a particular course for masters concerned to onboard computers, but it's like it's the basics. Like you need to work on computer architecture and all those things. There is not a specific course that I know, but I'll look into it and I'll get back to you if I can find something. So Pathak Deep says, I am in IT engineering. I want to know which programming language should I prefer more for internships or getting a job at ISRO. So it's like, C, C++, Java, and Python. As I told, Python is not much used in ISRO till date. ISRO is still focused on C, C++, and Java for some of the applications. So you do need thorough understanding of C, the data structure, the object-oriented concepts of C++ and all. But I think you also should go for, you know, Python, because Python is going to be the language of the future, I guess. A lot of things are, are done in Python right now, and it has packages from all over the world concerning all the disciplines. So yes, you should learn Python, C++, and C. Java also, if you know, it's much better. So can you comment on the work culture at ISRO? Yes, the work culture in ISRO, it's quite good actually. The people there really help you. And when you get into ISRO, you don't know much about what ISRO is working. I mean, I learned a lot of signals and systems, programming, data structures, a lot of things. But that is not all. I mean, you need to learn a lot more things, and you need to understand what is going on in the ISRO. And in that case, my colleagues have really helped me a lot in understanding what I'm working on and how you should proceed further. And in ISRO, it's not, and the things you will be working on will be like, very rare things that people work on sometimes. So I mean, you won't find a lot of materials on all the subjects that you are working on. So your colleagues really, really help you, and make you go through everything to reach at that level when you can just go and program stuff and do all the things. So what is the process to get into ISRO, and what they mainly prefer from fresher? So getting to ISRO has like, I think, three or four ways. One is IIST. You can directly get a job in ISRO if you score 7.5 or more, and there are enough vacancies in ISRO. The other thing is ISRO Centralized Recruitment Board, ICRB. They conduct exams twice in a year actually, for posts of scientist SC and a lot of different other posts. So you can go through it. There will be an written exam in it, and followed by an interview by ISRO scientist. So you can go through that. And regarding what they prefer electronics engineers, electrical engineers, computer scientists, and mechanical engineers. So these are the branches which they prefer, and it's easy to get into if you are one of if you have studied one of these branches. And if you are in IIT or you have done masters in IIT, there are, I think, direct recruitments from IITs in ISRO also. So that's also an option. And if you do an MTech or a PhD, there will be a direct recruitment in ISRO just by an interview. You have to do an application. You have to make an application to ISRO that I have done my MTech in so and I'm interested, and these are the things I have learned in my MTech or PhD. They'll consider your application, and if they find you good, they'll ask you and they'll invite you for an interview, and you can directly get a job. There won't be any exams in that. So MTech and PhD, and you also get a big post. I mean, if you join after PhD, you directly get scientist SD. And if you join through ICRB after BTech, you get scientist SC. So you get a one higher post if you directly join after PhD. And if you join after MTech, the usual promotion is after 4 years in ISRO. But if you join through MTech, you will be eligible for a promotion in 2 years. So that's also an advantage. So I mentioned about doing interesting projects during your undergraduate years. Can you comment on how our students can find good projects and how doing good projects help students? So yeah, good projects. How do you find good projects? It's basically about your imagination. It's about reading a lot of papers and see that the subject, like what scopes is there in that subject that you are studying right now. There'll be a lot of papers available on the subjects and the new research going on. So I think you should focus. I think you should read those papers first, and you should try to improve the things that are already there. I mean, in most of the cases, we don't design something totally new. We just improve the things that are already there. There are some basic things and you need to improve them. So you should choose projects such that, like, whatever things are going on in the subject, you should improve them a bit. And you should also, first, in the early semester, you should also start with some basic projects, like just to understand what is going on in that subject or that course. How doing good projects help students? So I basically, I'll give an example for this. In computer networks project, I learned Python. I did not know Python before that, and I had to do the programming in Python in my project, so I learned Python. And it's very helpful to me right now, like the machine learning and all the tools that Python has. It is becoming very essential for me right now at work. And also, like, C and Python, I'll tell you something about C and Python also. Python is used to, write a first cut program for you. So in Python, you can write a program so fast. So you just write the program, you test on the data. It might take a lot of time because Python is slower than C. But then once your program is like, you have checked that it is completely right, my program is working perfectly, then you code it into C, because C is really fast and you can implement it anywhere. So then that's how you go to C from Python. So yeah, so I got this understanding of Python and everything through my projects. There are a lot of other things that I learned through my projects, like from line followers, I learned about IR sensors and how do microprocessor, how to program microprocessor. So if I would have got a job in ISRO which deals with onboard computers, I would have been comfortable because I had already programmed my microprocessors and all those things. So these are some things that you learn from your projects, and they are really very, very important. I mean, I would I would really, really advise you to not just stay on theoretical knowledge of your books and your exams, but go for practical knowledge, do a lot of projects and all that. So for ISRO man mission, any selection criteria to become that moon man? So yeah, that's very aspiring actually, to be the astronaut or Gaganaut as they call in Indian Gaganyaan mission. But right now, when I think the first ISRO man mission will be held, I guess only Air Force pilots will be allowed, because they already have an experience of those conditions and they will be trained mostly by Russia, I guess. And so that's how you can go for that. So yes, you need to be an Air Force pilot right now if you want to go for the manned mission. It's a big shot, of course, but yeah, that's the start. I mean, once we get familiarized with the human space flight missions, then there will be scientists going on to the space stations and all those things. So after that, you might have a chance if you are a good scientist in ISRO and you are working and you are like the best of your field. But of course, human space flight does not give chance to everyone. So yeah, it's a bit tough. Yeah, any takeaway advices for students of GC? Yeah, I think you have all completed your BTech, or you are working on your BTech right now, and you might be going for post graduation. So I would really ask you to do post graduation, because even I feel that education of BTech is like not enough to work in a field for like years. I mean, it's good, but you need to go to post graduation, focus on a topic and learn more about a topic that you want to work on for your entire life, because you're going to work on something for your entire life. And for that, you need to have enough knowledge, enough theoretical knowledge, and enough practical knowledge. So I will really advise you to go for post graduation, learn as much as you can, and after that you settle down in a job or something like that. So what is the interview process of ISRO? So interview process is actually quite simple. Once you clear out the written exams, ISRO will be inviting you to the interviews, and there'll be interviews in different centers like SAC, Space Application Center. They hold interviews for electronics guys, and there'll be interview and they'll ask you questions about what you have done right now in your curriculum, and then yeah, it's a simple process just like any other interview. An ISRO exam, which are the most important, theoretical or numerical? So it depends actually on the branch for which you are giving the exam. If you are computer scientist, it's different. If you are electronics, it's different. And I haven't actually given that ISRO exam that is conducted by ICRB, so I don't know much about the theoretical and numerical knowledge. But to ping me, I know some people who have given those exams, so I'll get back to you about that. Explain more about earlier maintained exam, and this exam is separated as branch of the students. I do not understand the question of Kaushik Godani. Can you please elaborate a bit about your question? Does ISRO recruit mathematicians? What is the procedure if there is one? Well, actually, I don't know much about mathematicians in ISRO, but ISRO recruit physics guys. So I think if you have done MTech or a PhD, you can write a mail to ISRO about the things you have done. And whenever there is an MTech or PhD employees requirement, then you can check. I'm not quite sure about mathematicians in ISRO. Mm, I'll have to look into it. Okay, I'll get back to you. JVS, I'll get back to you about that. I'll ask someone. And Kaushik Wadani, I think you asked about the ISRO exam, which is different and same. So yes, if you are applying for ISRO, the written exam will be different for, like, you know, ISRO, like the one who have done electronics, the one who has done electrical, the one who has done computer science, and the one who has done mechanical. And also the interviews will be different for all of them. You won't be asked questions about anything. You will be asked questions about particular subjects from your course and the understanding that you have got through your curriculum. So if that's what your question is, that's the answer. Any further questions, please go on and ask me. Yeah, you can mail me at any time if you want any help regarding ISRO or anything else. I'll be ready to help you. Yeah, I won't have my phone available with me from morning to evening, so yeah, I'll get back to you after 7 or 8 o'clock. So, can we get your phone number? Yeah, you can get my phone number through GC Alumni Connect GC Bhavnagar, and yeah, you can ping me. I'll get back to you for whatever question you have. How do internship from SAC Ahmedabad as a mechanical engineer? So as I explained earlier, the internship procedure is like for, you'll have to give the application through your college. You have to have a reference of a professor, and then apply for the internship. You can go to the sac.gov.in website, and from there you can actually go to careers, and there will be an internship option. There will be timings for the application, so you can apply at that time, and you can see what you can do. So Drumit Trivedi, for technical knowledge is good for mechanical engineering, which is best for us. ISRO, ESE, GATE for MTech, DRDO, which is best for future. So there is nothing like which is best. Actually, it's about your interest. If you want to work in space applications, you need to go to ISRO. If you want to work in defense, you need to go to DRDO or something like that. But there is nothing like this is best and this is not. It actually depends on your interest. And DRDO has also similar exams like ISRO, and it also does similar work, but in the defense area, and there will be a lot of different work also. So yeah, it actually depends on your interest. It's everything is good actually. ISRO, DRDO, those are very good institutes of this country. How do people with geoscience background apply, and what type of work do they look after? So yeah, geoscience people, they must have had an MTech or PhD before they can apply. So they can apply through MTech or PhD recruitments, and they basically look after remote sensing, because remote sensing has a lot of geoscience applications in it. So that's how geoscience people can apply to ISRO and can get into ISRO and work on it. Uh, like we send satellites into the space and we take a lot of images. Now, what to do with those images? So we do a lot of use of that images, and that's where the remote sensing scientists or geoscientists come into the picture. And if you all want to look at, you just go to the remote sensing applications in some internet. I'll also ask Alumni Connect JC Bhavnagar to post some links on this description video, on this video's description, and there'll be there you can find a lot of applications of remote sensing and satellite data that is going on right now. So yeah, that's something you can work on, and there are ample amount of opportunities in remote sensing. It's a vast field. NASA, ESA, European Space Agency, ISRO, all are working in remote sensing a lot. So there are a lot of applications there and a lot of opportunities in that area. So I think I've answered a lot of questions. And now if you have any further questions, do ping me on mail or my mobile anytime. So yeah, thank you very much for listening to me. And I'll just like to tell you one thing. Oh, there's another question. What's your designation at ISRO, and share some experience of it? So yes, my designation is scientist engineer SC. Some experience, yeah, it's everything I've talked about. Like, scientist SC, you join as it's like the lowest scientist position. So you join as a scientist SC and you work on your way up. And as a scientist engineer SC, you basically work on the ground level. Like all the work you will be doing will be like not a lot of managerial work. You will be actually working, like programming some things or something like that. So there'll be a lot of work as a scientist engineer SC, and there is a lot of experience to gain as a, that in that position, because you won't be pressurized by a lot of upper level dynamics. So you can actually learn things and do a lot of gain a lot of experience. So yeah, I heard that some scientists get to go to Antarctica from ISRO. Is it true? Yes, they go. They do go to Antarctica because Antarctica has center of ISRO, which because it takes satellite data from there because it has a very good connectivity there. So yes, they go to Antarctica. One of my friend has gone to Antarctica. Yeah, they usually go for a year or they're a 3 month period. So there are a lot of research going on in Antarctica also about satellite links and other things. So yes, you can go to Antarctica if you join to ISRO, but you'll need to be in a particular department which works with those things. So yeah, I think it's done. Thank you very much all for listening to me right now, and I hope I was able to give you some good information and help you all a bit. Will ISRO work on any interstellar project? Okay, interstellar project, like it is different. It is difficult right now because first we need to finish our human space flight missions and some uh, projects to Venus, Jupiter, and Moon before we actually focus on interstellar project. And as I told, harnessing space technology for national development is the main goal of ISRO. So those things actually come second. And before that, we have to do this remote sensing application, disaster management, communication satellites, and all that. So whenever we'll be free from all these things and we maintain a proper satellite structure in constellation setup for our communication and remote sensing, then we might go for an interstellar project. But I think that's far from now, quite far from now. So yeah, thank you very much all for listening to me right now. I hope I was able to give you some good information. And yeah, ping me if you need any more help. Thank you very much. Bye. Have a good day.